Hello, hello. We should be live. Welcome. I am Deb. First, take my shoes off. I'm going to keep an eye on my computer here, but I would like to welcome everyone to the Solstice Shake-Up. Today is the first, I'm just seeing my machine is crooked. Today is the first session for this new page. I thank those of you who were able to join us live today. For those who were not, we will be doing at least a weekly session, but today, like anything new, I know a lot of you have questions. I have a lot of answers, but we will certainly not cover it all in the course of 1 hour. So what I'm going to do today, for those of you who are here with the machine and want to start shaking, I am going to do some shaking and talking, and I'm going to try and manage any questions that you may have. A lot of you have specific conditions, but we're going to start with the basic foundation of why everyone is here, which is fat disorders, lipedema, Dercums disease. Maybe you don't know, maybe you're diagnosed, maybe you're not. So part of what we're going to do today is just talk about basics, why you would want to use a machine for your conditions, some of the things that you can do as a treatment or a feel-good versus fitness. There's a couple of different things that I want to cover today. Many of you do know me from past vibration machine worlds. I have been in the industry for probably going on 12 years. My husband and I started a studio many years ago in 2007 in our small town. Very long story short, I was a very big girl with a bad knee, which I blew out. And I needed to get some surgery, but I was a little too big to get that surgery done. So for me, I came across a $15,000 German medical device, fell in love, bought 4 of them with my husband, opened a studio, and we were very self-taught. We had a lot of instruction. We started in the vertical side. I will get into machine types a little bit later, but we started with a very good quality, well-researched German machine, and we evolved into other things as the market did. So I'll get into that in a little bit more detail as well. Medical, most people here are dealing with a medical concern. So not knowing each of you intimately, not offering medical advice, I'm here to simply share my experiences and some of the wins that I have with dealing with these types of bodies and these machines. I became aware of lipedema probably 3-4 years ago now. And once I kind of understood what it was all of a sudden, eureka, I think many of my customers have this. They were doing the right things, eating the right foods, the discipline, which is the hardest piece for all of us, they had. But things just weren't changing. They were getting toned, they were getting tight. But now that I kind of understand how exercise affects your bodies, what I specialize in is how this type of exercise is kinder for your body than perhaps other activities that you are doing now or have tried in the past. So I'm going to start us by shaking. I just want to check and see if I am in fact live. I totally should be. And oh, I see that I'm live. Okay. There is about a 20-second delay, just so everyone knows, from what I'm doing here now to what transpires in the form of comments or likes or shares. Today, the primary goal is to gather as much information as I can possible about how I can apply my experience and share with you for your individual needs. So I'm going to start going over some basic stuff. And what I would encourage you to do is post some questions. And once I start rambling a little too much, I will take a break and address some of those questions. I may cherry pick on questions today on things that are more generally applicable. I've got an hour banked for today. If we do run more than 5 o'clock, I may get back to some of those questions over the course of the next day if there's a little bit more information required. So today I am working on a very common pivotal platform. You hear me talk lots in my comments, even so far since we started this page, about type of movement. I am seated in a chair. I do not know where many of you are starting from, but the best way, if you are dealing with pain, fatigue, poor mobility, poor balance, if there's any reason exercise scares you, start on a chair. And I'm seated on a very inexpensive but solid bar height stool. Depending on your height, when you are putting your feet on a platform, you want something that's going to get your legs at a 90-degree angle or a little bit higher. You don't want to be lower in the hips and be going downhill, because we're going to do other things. So you want to be able to stand up out of that chair comfortably and not going uphill preferably. Reasons you would start in a chair. Many of you are using the machine in this fashion already. This is simply reducing body weight, reducing the amount of your body weight that you're putting into the equation. And there's a couple of reasons that you may start seated in a chair, because we're scared and we're not comfortable with the machine and we don't know what it's going to do yet. Many of you are dealing with joint issues. So, you know, if high impact is all that you've experienced, traditional activity can be uncomfortable. And one of the big advantages of using a vibration platform is it dramatically reduces the amount of impact to your joints. The amount of impact in the first lesson, I'm going to go over this a few times as people are joining throughout the session, on this style of platform. So if you are working with an oscillating platform, it most mimics how you move, how you walk, and it also represents higher amplitude or displacement values, which is the amount that you're moving. The cool thing about an oscillating platform is, just like many of you, you're all coming from a different place, levels of pain, fatigue. You can control the amount of tensity with the position between your feet. If you're really, really scared and you're trying this out for the first time, put your feet towards the center. Think of yourself as a kid sitting on that teeter-totter back in the playground. If you're in the middle, you're not moving very much. But as we widen the distance between our feet, any of you using machines know that this makes you shake more. But what I want to address is there's a mentality out there that the wider we stand, the more benefit we're going to get. I hear this from doctors, I hear this from users, I hear this from other vibration trainers. There is no exact equation on the amplitude. It's really, the best advice I can give you is use it in combination with how you're feeling. So if you're using a higher speed, and I'm going to speed this up a little bit, if you're using a higher speed or frequency on your platform, you'll notice that it gets a little bit smoother. It's less intense than if you are going really slow. Those slow, choppy speeds are more related to balance and stability. So they're not always the most comfortable starting speeds if your body's guarding and protecting. So bring your machine up a little bit from those starting speeds to a mid-higher frequency. If you're working with a high acceleration platform, mid-frequency should be adequate starting out. The goal is lymph. And the reason I'm using this platform today I'm using a Rumblex 4D from LifePro. To be honest, there's a lot of platforms on the market. There's a lot of science. There's a lot of clash. I work with a lot of different brands. Some have different capabilities than others. Some have different price points than others. So I am here to help the masses, and the vast majority of you out there using a vibration platform, thank you for completing my survey yesterday. But it kind of validated what I already know from working with the industry. The vast majority of you are using oscillating, which is awesome for lymph. It's with that more displacement option. You move more, you shake the fat, you know what I'm talking about. But you can also modify for intensity. Maybe you're having a bad day. Maybe you're dealing with a recent surgery that you're recovering from, but you still want to keep the lymph going. So you are always in control with your hands or your feet on the platform. But specifically for lymph, the biggest question I get is what is the best program? What is the best frequency? You know, that there is no exact number. With a vibration machine, don't think of it as a separate thing, a separate therapy, something that you are to do on top of all these other things you're already trying to do. If you are active, and that is a very big spectrum, you know, active can be walking, can be getting up off the couch, it could be running a marathon. Everybody's activity levels will vary. So a vibration machine, think of it as an environment that will improve the effectiveness of exercises, stretches. There's massage you can do on it. It will also decrease the impact to those joints, which I've already mentioned, and it will dramatically decrease the amount of time that you spend exercising. So when we're dealing with fatigue, that heaviness, things hurt, by reducing the amount of time that you spend doing those exercises, you also reduce the impact time on the joints, and reserve some of that energy for later in the day. Many of you deal with fatigue, and for whatever reason it's being caused, you know, the less time you can expend the energy you do have exercising and doing things that are challenging, the more you can enjoy your day. The other reason that I would say, if I had to put like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 list, besides moving lymph and circulation, is energy. We lack energy with these conditions. Mental, physical, there's a bazillion hurdles that get in our way throughout the course of our day. We are at home more than we've ever been before. So getting on a machine more frequently for short sessions is something for the feel-good side of this industry I always recommend, whether you're dealing with lipedema, Dercums disease, perhaps you're recovering from a big run. A minute or two just to get things going, move some lymph, aid with detoxification, boost that energy is another reason a lot of my community that I support here uses them more frequently. I'm going to show you a couple of variations, and sitting here is going to primarily get some lower body going. I've been talking too long and I want to do something else. I'm sure you're getting bored with my feet just being on the machine. I'm looking at my notes behind the screen and trying not to overwhelm you all at once. So if you're still seated in a seated position, if some of you have progressed to standing, that's fine. I'll be doing some of that here shortly. But one of the big things, if you are unable to stand on the machine for long periods, or you lack the energy to sustain long durations with your exercises, a lot of you are dealing with lymph as a whole. And there's this misconception that you just stand on a machine and it miraculously does all these wonderful things. But not everybody can even stand on it. So in a seated position, you're going to feel it primarily up to the hips. This is one of the ways, if you have dealt with surgery from here up, you could still use a machine. You just don't expose those body parts. But to get some upper body going in these areas, lock your arms and add your hands on your knees. And you may be able to see on camera here, I am moving ever so slightly. Again, bend the elbows a little bit, maybe to get into position, and then lock them up. Locking them up, you're not bearing any body weight here. It's fine to do that. This is a very easy way to just start getting a little bit of movement to the upper arm. It's hard to sometimes use handheld devices or the massage guns, some of the things that I talk about also on this page, because you're dealing with hand issues. So it's hard to do upper body exercises. Range of motion may detain you from getting down on the ground and doing some of those positions. So just lock your arms on your knees. If you have a little bit more range of motion, you got a little more tolerance, you want a little bit more action on this, 2 variations. Widen your feet. Again, the wider your foot position, the more you're going to move, and you'll feel that intensity change. The other option is come down on the elbows. So by eliminating the upper arm and you're kind of more direct into those shoulders, keep your head in a relaxed position. We as women carry all of our tension, all of our stress in our neck and our shoulders. And when we're first starting out on these machines, whether we're doing something modified like this or a push-up, the body's not used to this activity. Whether you're super fit or not, it's new, and the body is lazy. It's always trying to find an easier way to do things. So it's going to try and compensate, shift your weight, resist, and what happens when we get stimulation in the neck and the shoulders, we fight back with a vengeance. We resist, we fight it. So just try and relax, breathe. Don't let your head sag too much. Just hold a good angle. And if you find that this is too hard for your range of motion or a little bit more action, come back up onto those hands. Just a variation. Another thing is, how many of you are doing manual massage? You know, there's a million things that you've been taught from Dr. Herbst and Catherine and all the wonderful people that are showing you how to do this with just your own body. You know, not all of us have tools to play with at home. So any of those, you know, manual things that you're doing seated in a chair for your upper body, do it while you're sitting on the machine with your feet. So we're going to move on to a couple of variations. I need to just reposition the machine here a bit. I need some beverage, and I'm just going to check for questions here. It looks like I have viewers. Okay, where am I at? Okay, I am live. Hello, Jenny, thank you for being here. Kim Wilson, hello from the island. Us crazy Canadians shaking in the snow on the solstice, hey? All right, so thank you for those comments. If there's more, I'm not seeing them. And again, I do invite you, if you have questions specific to you, maybe you don't want me talking about them on camera and you just have a few things you want to ask. Going forward in sessions, I'm going to have some regular things. My big goal with launching this today, as unorganized as it is today, I want you guys to have a place once, maybe twice a week, I'll see how things go, where you can come for the motivation, where you can come and join us, you know, regardless of what machine that you are using. I want you guys to move and feel better. And the true success with these conditions and vibration tools is consistency of use. Doing these things regularly, methodically. You know, I would love to see you using them every day, a couple times a day, but that's not a reality for everybody. So if I can meet with you once a week, give you that butt kit, give you a few new suggestions, and I would like to evolve into some user stories where some of you are joining me and we turn this into more like a bit of a coffee talk where I'm shaking with one of you each week and we go over what's going on with you. And we solve those problems on camera for everyone to share. So that's kind of the easiest way that I think I can help the most of you. I do offer one-on-one sessions. I am available for consultations, but as I become more and more of an advocate in this community, like many of you that devote your time to the betterment and the healing that we're all seeking, I'm a one-woman show. So I can't do one-on-ones with everybody forever. So I'm trying to reserve myself for those really challenging one-offs, my therapists, my other teachers, and try and help the rest of you without bearing an additional expense by just joining me here once a week. I will be making some product recommendations and offering a few brands and the differences between them as well on this page, but today is strictly talking about use, and I'll get into some of that towards the end of my hour. So if we have no more questions at this time, I am going to evolve to some other things that vibration machines happen to be really, really good for. So I'm going to go from those of us that have no energy and lack it to the opposite end of the scale. I don't really think many of you have not stood on the machine. If you haven't, it's probably because you are dealing with mobility, recent surgery, but if you're getting prepared and have never stood on a machine, here's what we're going to do. We're going to show you how to do that responsibly. So I'm going to get this going again in pivotal mode. I never use remotes because my children I always use buttons on the machine and my big toe when I'm going. And okay, so I'm just setting this for a pre 10 minutes. If you are dealing with migraines, this is a new experience for you. You want to, sort of introduce yourself for the first time. Instead of standing on it completely, put one foot on the machine. Now, one of the things I talked about earlier was amplitude and displacement. Same goes with a one-legged position. So if you've got one foot way out here on the side, you're going to feel it moving more than little. But what I would do with any position for now, unless you're getting into mean, deep squats or something, everything I talk about is functional. Functional fitness, functional feel-good. And walking across the floor, most of us do not walk with our feet wider than our hips. So when you are standing on this machine, I want you no further than hip width apart, whatever your machine has said or told you or the markers. Hip width apart is going to be different for everybody based on your height. So I'm about 5'8". I am working with a 7-foot ceiling, and I thought, cool, I'm going to add some more light in here today, and I look like I'm glowing. It's the solstice light shining upon me in my basement. What I want you to do, you can hear in my voice, if you hear rumbling in your voice, if you feel your hair bouncing back and forth, your legs are locked or you're standing too tall, and you will be prone to headaches. Vibration machines don't give you headaches. What gives you headaches when you're using a vibration machine, in my experience, are a couple of things. Standing too tall. When we're standing tall with our feet, hip width or even further apart, you kind of become like an A-frame. And all the movement is just going to your head. So after a period of time, because, it's the 10-minute thing, I stand here for 10 minutes and I suck it up because that's what I think I'm supposed to do. So your head takes the brunt of it. Unlock those knees and you'll hear the difference in my voice even, just by doing that. So knees are slightly bent, let those natural shock absorbers kick in. If you're finding it's too much action, keep that chair behind you. If you're fatigued, sit down, take a break. You don't have to commit to what I'm doing right now. I just wanted to get all of my body in camera, so I moved the machine. Other variations, you can shift your weight. You know, maybe you got bad knees, or maybe you got a bad hip, and you can't do things like squats and lunges yet, but you certainly, I encourage you to try and not just stand there. Another variation, range of motion is key, and your squats, which are going to burn calories, and that's where the fitness side of this comes in later in the session. But squats, a lot of times, we just lack the range of motion. We don't do them regularly, and a lot of here, to me, the core is kind of the armpits to the top of the knee. You want to keep loose and limber, and with all the extra sitting we're doing these days, we sit too much, and our range of motion is going way downhill. So everybody knows what a pelvic tilt looks like. I'm going to turn sideways. All I want you to do, when you're turning sideways on a machine, put your heels in the middle to start, and you'll notice I'm moving less. If I go back this way, I move more. If I go this way, it kind of pushes you this way. Oh, and I hit the button. So what I want you to do, knees are slightly bent, you're going to tilt the bum forward, backward, okay? So slowly. Time it with your breathing. Just some really slow dynamic movements. You could do some little circles. So instead of just standing on the machine, my little thing, kind of every time I use it, is a couple of pelvic tilts, just as a bit of a warm-up. Get things kind of loose and limber before I do. You can do your arm things. You know, depending on your balance, you may want that chair behind you for stability. I'm working with a platform that has no handles today, but many of you may. If you are working with a platform with handles, hang on for stability, but never for dear life. Very often, we go beyond our natural range of motion because we've got something to hang on to. So if you feel like you're falling backwards off the machine, and if you were to let go, you'd fall, you're beyond what you could do on the floor without having something to hang on to. So readjust yourself, find your deep spot for your range of motion, and just hang on for stability, not for dear life, okay? So the next progression when we're on these machines, that we've done our little pelvic tilt, we kind of get into the realm of fitness. So, you know, what is fitness? How do I lose weight? How do I get stronger on these machines? Just like at the gym, you know, if we went to the gym and we hired 3 trainers to give us a good program to, you know, lose some weight or tone our body, we would get 3 completely different programs based on what they like to do and what equipment they have access to. So exercise and what exercises become a part of a program are very suggestive. And it really boils down to you. What do you like to do? What can you do? What can't you do? So there's never ever going to be one perfect program for every body type. But I do want you to start thinking about body parts. You know, there's certainly going to be ways that we can target body parts. And I think you'll find how I use the machines is very rarely a head-to-toe thing. Back to the gym reference, nobody goes to the gym and does a whole body workout. You'd be there 2 days. Most of my gym goers are doing, you know, maybe legs every other day, and they're doing core and upper body on alternative days. You know, use your machine in a similar fashion, but the advantage with the vibration machine, of course, at home for you guys is the feel good, the wellness. I want to move and feel better. So fitness, if you're busting a move, you're pushing yourself, I'm going to show you how to do that very easily, is different than maybe using it for 2 to 3 minutes because you feel sluggish, okay? So feel good use is different than fitness use. So the fitness piece, how long can I use a machine? Okay, well, if you're using it for feel good, how often can you go for a walk? I wouldn't put a limit on something like that. Fitness, which we will cover first. Fitness is not this for 10 minutes. You know, maybe for some of you starting out, it's a starting point. But for those of you asking, you know, how do I work out? I want to sweat. I'm active. I'm fit. Even though I'm dealing, you know, maybe you're stage 1, stage 2, maybe you're stage 3 or 4, and you've just always been very active. So if you know how to do a good squat, most people that struggle in these machines are trying to do things on them that they don't have the technique for or don't do regularly on the floor. So a good squat can really help 90% of you out there with the leg strength, the bone density, the weight loss. I really try to keep things simple. 2 or 3 very effective positions are going to take you much further than 15, 20 positions that you don't know how to do that just look like work. So today we are simply going to cover a basic squat for my fitness crowd. I will get into more fitness sessions down the road. But a good squat is like we're getting ready to sit in a chair. So when you're first starting out, don't move up and down and go really fast. The technique's probably not there. On a vibration platform, it will build intensity on the muscle groups that you are engaging. So, you know, to get things right and to pay attention to bad joints, as I said, many of you are dealing with hypermobility and those type of things, don't move. Just go as low as you can, whatever that is for your range of motion. You want to make sure, you know, you're not looking like this. That's not a squat. That's bending over. You want to make sure that we're going from here to here, and your shoulders should be in line with your heels. You don't want to shift your weight forward. You don't want to hang onto those elbows and go way back. Okay? So it's just like we're getting ready to sit in a chair. And you'll feel it. When you feel those quads starting to burn, hold. And when you can't hold no more, take a break. Okay? 3, 4, 5 seconds. Maybe do some tilts. Maybe lean over, do your back a little bit, and then do another rep. Okay? I am an older mom. I am 48, almost pushing my 5th decade. And as a bigger girl, I was always very active in my youth, but I didn't know how to do these things properly or why I did them or why you warmed up. And well, what I've learned in my 14 years with weight loss in particular, and as I've aged, my sciatic, I never did get knee surgery, but I have all those things that come with a bad knee, bad back, bad knee, bad sciatic, you name it. So a good squat early in the day at my age is going to boost that metabolism. It's going to raise that calorie bank so that your body in an inactive state is burning a few more calories throughout the course of your day. So if all that you can do right now on your machine is stand on it and just squat a little bit, that's your program. It does not need to be more complicated than that. If you want to stretch, if you want to sit, put your feet on the machine, feel good stuff, I'm not going to put too many limits on, but when you're doing fitness, the 10 minutes, 3 times a week thing that we hear out there is more related to you are pushing your body to fatigue. I get into trouble a little bit with my trainers. How long should we exercise? You know, to me, body composition changes, strength, those type of things happen when we push our body to that point where it wants to quit. For you, that might be 5 seconds. For me, it might be 2 minutes. It's not an exact number. The better your position, the faster you're going to fatigue. So just start with that and try and get to the goal of maybe 1-2 minutes total, however many reps that may end up equating to for you, and work on one position and progress. And that's, like I say, you could do a simple squat if you're only pushing off a minute or two. You could do that a couple of times a day as something to do in place of that walk if you're unable, and still get the benefits of your lymph, your bone density, boosting that immunity, all the other benefits just by using the platform. I need a drink of coffee. I love coffee. It's my big weakness. There was a bunch of my gals from Italy this morning talking Italy, and all I can think about today is cannolis. We've got this cannoli shop in town, and I want cannolis because I can think Italian. Okay. Oh, hello, everyone. Okay. Hello, Nicole. Hello, another Jennifer LeBrecq. Hello, how are you? Nicola, I said hello. I think I did. Oh, you said 2 comments there. Okay, this is great. Thank you for those of you who have joined me today. Thank you. Okay, we're about a half an hour into what I promised to be a 1-hour session. So that was not really a workout, but some of the things I want you guys to start focusing on is simplicity and shorter durations. The biggest benefit, again, I'm going to stress this a couple times to this community, is when you move, lymph moves. And whether you're just able to use your machine in a seated position, whether you're able to stand, or whether you're able to progress and do some squats or some on the ground stuff, which we're going to get to next. Everybody progresses differently, but there's always a way that you can use the machine, even if we need to modify. Perhaps you've had recent surgeries, you know, and unless your doctor is versed with whole body vibration, know that this page is a resource. I am not a doctor. I don't claim to be, but I do support a lot of the doctors in the community simply because I've been doing this longer than most people out there. So what I would like to offer myself, you know, if you need information, if you're dealing with a funky medical condition, you know, sometimes it's just understanding some of the modifications, especially for those of you using a machine at home now. If you're using a machine regularly and you know the benefits I'm talking about, it's hard to not use it. The energy starts going downhill, the swelling starts returning, the veins start throbbing. So a lot of times, believe it or not, you often have more experience using a vibration platform than your medical folks. Me talking vibration machines sometimes to the science and the research and the doctors is as foreign as talking about lipedema. So we're in awesome company here because, you know, I've been, you know, trying to explain the vibration for so long, and you guys have been trying to, you know, explain the lipedema. So the advocacy thing and us coming together is too perfect because, like I say, there's just too many reasons you guys live a better quality of life using this. So allow my experience to guide you and answer those tough questions when you do have them. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more room, and I want to turn this a little bit so you can see some of the stuff that I'm doing here. So there was a question posted earlier on one of the posts about quads. And you know, if I have fluid in these areas, can I put these directly on the vibration machine? In the vibration machine world, I've always said that range of motion is a gift. Range of motion will allow you to get down on the ground. The harder thing of getting down on the ground is getting back up off the ground. So if the getting up off the ground is a challenge, I've seen you guys at shows, you always have your way of getting yourself back up. But if the squat is challenging, I know getting up off the floor. So part of the reason I kind of trick you into doing better squats is it will make this easier long term, okay? So for those of you who are able to get down on the ground, first thing we're going to cover is a little bit of upper body. And I've rambled so much my machine went to sleep again. So upper body, very, very, very few women in my 13 years of doing this community aside, do push-ups regularly. So if you have not done a push-up in a decade, you know, doing one on a vibration machine, which essentially makes that push-up harder for the first time in a decade, is probably not the best way to do it. The technique's going to go out the window. By the time you get yourself going, you know, I'm not saying no one can do a push-up, but as I was talking earlier, the tension in our neck and shoulders tends to fight back. So there's about a 1 to maybe 3 week period, depending on how often you use your machine, it takes for your body to assimilate to this new exercise, just like anything else. So let your body get used to how it feels. Play around with the different frequencies and speed outlines. Play with your hand positioning. If you have different movement styles on your machine, play around with these things. At the end of the day, with the science, with the research, with a lot of that piece of it, if it doesn't feel good and you don't like it, you're not going to do it anyways. So my experience with these machines is within about a month or two, you're going to find your groove. You know, you like this speed range for this kind of thing. You like this frequency range for this kind of thing. And amplitude, you like your feet wide for this, but you like them close for this. So, you know, there again, just like my exercise analogy, there is no perfect exercise or program for everybody. It's kind of what feels good to you. We all have different sensitivities, but use it regularly. The minute you get a machine, don't be scared of it and leave it in the box for 2 weeks. Try it in some way, shape, or form. The sooner your body starts getting used to and adapting to this new environment, the more you're going to start seeing those benefits and wondering why you didn't get one 10 years ago like I did. So we're going to get this going. And I'm going to leave my settings. I'm not talking specific settings too much today, but in general, the lower speeds, this lower frequencies on this style of vibration machine are more choppy, more wobbly, kind of like a Bosu ball. And when you're dealing with hypermobility and you're dealing with arthritis, I probably wouldn't start you on a rebounder or a Bosu ball. So I like to bring mine up to like a little bit of a faster speed. If you're working on a platform that's got 100 speed levels, somewhere in the 50, 60 range. If you're working on a machine with 60 levels, somewhere in the 20 to 30 range. Somewhere in the middle of whatever your range is. If you're dealing with a machine of outline frequencies, we're playing in the 10 to 12 hertz range right now. So we are going to put our fingertips hip width apart, sort of like our shoulders. Now the big tip with upper body, notice how on my knees, I'm taking the body weight out of the equation. So much like sitting in a chair and putting your feet on the machine, instead of committing to this and putting every ounce of body weight that you have into it, drop to your knees. Kind of like you're doing a cat-cow from yoga. The big trick when you're doing upper body positions is a little thing I like to call angles. I'm going to turn this way a little bit so you can see. If you are looking at your hands, vibration goes straight up and you're going to get the most head vibration while you're using this. So what you want to do is you kind of want to pop your head just past your hands and line it up with your shoulder. And you'll feel it more in the neck and the shoulders, which is where we want it in the first place. Again, we carry that tension there. So just relax, make sure the elbows are soft, and just hold a good position, okay? If you're finding, this is pretty easy and it's not too terribly challenging, that's okay. It's moving some good lymph. Maybe that's your goal. If you are wanting more fitness, you're finding you could probably take a little bit more action. You can slowly start incorporating body weight. Back up your knees slightly, readjust your body, and you've opened up your core a little bit. And you'll notice it's harder. And next progression, a little bit more. Depends how long you are. Okay? And then eventually, yes, if you're feeling up for it, maybe you're just pushing to the toes for a minute or two. But learn the positions without making it too hard. Get some good technique. Make sure your core is strong enough. And if you're feeling too much vibration in the head, you've probably pushed yourself away a little bit from the machine. That's a way that your body cheats. Another way is start with your hands closer to the center. Reduce the amount of movement before you challenge yourself and go to those toes. But no more than hip width or shoulder width apart. I think you'll find in an upper body position, if you're on your toes, really wide with the hands is pretty aggressive unless you're conditioned and you've got a good core. Bring them a little bit closer together. Get used to how it feels. And if fitness is the goal, just like standing versus squatting, this is harder than this. But they're both moving good lymph. So, the fitness piece really is more an individual thing. Other variations. A lot of people ask me about this. And tricep dips are probably the worst exercise on the whole planet. Most people don't do them now. If you've got neck, back, shoulder issues, there's just more ways, in my opinion, in this environment to do them wrong. Not saying you are doing them wrong, but I do want to offer you a suggestion. So from this same position, without having to even change your position, take your elbows and kind of pull them in towards your sides up against your ribs. So you're taking your elbows, and all of a sudden, you feel that this is the muscle group that's holding you up. So out here, it's more those biceps, shoulders. If you pull those elbows in, you're going to feel it more on the triceps. So without, again, having to change positions, and making it harder, same adjustments this way, okay? Regular push-up, tricep push-up. Regular push-up, tricep push-up. Just stick them right up against the ribs, okay? That's a really easy way while you're already there. Once I get on the ground, I'm kind of lazy. I really, for the 12, 13 years that I've been doing this, I have about 3 or 4 regular positions that I do, and then I kind of let my body tell me what needs to be spot treated in the interim. Another awesome reason that you want to get on the ground are perhaps some core exercises. Core exercises could be things like crunches, planks. Guess what? This is a plank. Many of you think this is a plank. But I gotta be honest, in all the years I've been doing this, I've never found a surface of any machine, and I've owned many, that's kind on the forearms. And it's a little, for me personally, too much action. I don't have the best shoulder. I blew it out in track and field many, many years ago. But it just, to me, there's my body's compensating and fighting it more than I'm getting benefit from the exercise. So if you're able to do a good plank on the floor now, come up to a push-up. You're going to get more benefit in the arms. You're going to get less head rattle. And, there's a bazillion variations that you can do. Mountain climbers, whatever kind of planks you like to do. Again, this is just an environment that you take those exercises you as a person are now doing and incorporate them to this environment. For those of you not doing planks, if you're not doing planks now, please don't start doing planks right off the bat. Certainly not before you master the upper body push-up kind of thing. And we'll shoot the machine back here a bit. There's a couple different ways that you can do crunches on the machine. I personally, I don't love crunches. Crunches, for me, they're hard on the low back. For many in this community that are carrying maybe the weight and the fluid is in the arms, there's a lot of ways they can be done wrong. Neck issues. But I will show you some proper form and a couple of tips for those of you that are doing crunches and want to continue to do so. So, on an oscillating platform, there's two ways that you can let it shake you. And on core exercises, crunches, you don't really want a whole lot of frequency or speed. It's not about going as fast as possible. With core exercises, it's more about destabilizing. So this is one of the few exercise groups that I prefer the slower speeds, the wobbles, because it's more about destabilizing that core. So in this fashion, I've got my feet just firmly planted on the ground, and I'm just going to sit back a little bit. If you have like a sticky outy tailbone, or you might want to put a little mat or a towel on the machine, depending on the surface of your machine. You can do this sideways as well. I'm going to turn sideways just so you can see a couple of angles here. The big thing with crunches that you want to do, you want a nice straight neck and spine. You don't want to be, from the 80s and the 70s where they taught us to wrench our neck. This engages the core. Keep your neck straight. And as soon as you start feeling those abs kick in, and you'll feel your neck will want to bend. This is your low point, not this. Okay? So crunches of this variety, and I'm breaking it into two parts. This is kind of from the belly button up. It's those upper abdominals. From the belly button down, it's legs. You got to bring legs into the equation. Now, not everybody is doing these kind of things. If you haven't done V-sit crunches, here's an easier way to get started. Put your feet on the ground and just start lifting. The longer your legs, the harder it's going to be. The more body weight you're exposing. Okay? So that's just a couple of variations for crunches. Again, I'm not a huge fan of crunches, but make sure you've got the low back and the core. I prefer planks. Planks encompass more muscle groups, a little bit more calorie burn in my opinion. So, and I will get into some more detailed exercise sessions on body parts going forward. So, my favorite part about being on the floor is not the work. Hoo-hoo, we've done all the work, we're sweating. Okay. It's the massage. So, I'm going to check in for questions again quick. Okay. Nicola, you are a podiatrist in the UK. Thank you for joining us so late. All my friends in London were mad that I did it at the time that I did. I will be looking at a couple of different times for all the time zones that I knew would be joining me. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So, lower body massage. Really, you are only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. I even made a little quote and posted that one time on my page. But any of you that have done coaching with me or been part of my other groups in the past, you are only limited, again, by your imagination and your range of motion. And the range of motion, the latter part, will improve if you're doing your squats. I'm going to keep lecturing. You're going to be so sick of me talking about squats. But you'll do it because we're going to check in every week and I'm going to make you accountable. Okay? So the easiest way to start and just sort of see how this feels, if you have the range of motion to get down and if you have the range of motion to get back up, you can sit and put your calves on the machine. So for calves on the machine, and you're probably seeing my wonderful calluses and my non-polished toenails, but I'm a little bit on the taller side. So for me personally, I have to get it going again. I like to just pop my feet just past, so the heels are just off the edge of the platform. If your heels are on it, they're just kind of, you're not getting the entire calf muscle on there. So move up until the heels are just past. And just like when you're standing on the machine, when you're sitting, closer is less shake, wider is more shake. So it really depends on you, the body part that you're massaging, what, maybe you did a big treatment before, but wider is more shake. But you will find in your massage positions, because you're not bearing weight, you're not exercising, you're probably going to be able to take a wider placement with the legs than perhaps if you were standing on the machine. So if you're massaging, I don't like to put time limits on it, but in my whole history of vibration machines, nobody overdoes the squats, nobody overdoes the massage. If you're going to overdo anything, pardon me, it is the massage, not the stretching I meant. So, a minute 2 per body part is really all you kind of need. If you're dealing with lots of congestion, you might want to do a little bit later in the day. You may notice swelling dissipate. You may notice it increase in certain areas. If you've been dealing dealing with a lot of congestion in your lymphatic system and you're just getting active for the first time, a lot happens in a very short period on these machines. So you want to make sure, kind of take the less is more approach. Use it three times for a couple minutes instead of one big long 10-minute session and you're not walking for 2 days. We are getting close to Christmas, so I want to keep those energy levels up and just give yourself a break over the holidays. You know, if you do some squats, if you do some push-ups, great. Do something every day just for the lymph to maintain all this work you guys do all the time with all this self-care that you're doing. So that's calves. That's position number 1. I have some tools I wanted to show you today. One of the things I've learned with my bad knee is it's still a bad knee. So the odd time I overdo it or I wear stupid shoes or the knee doesn't quite lay flat on the machine in a good way, because I know a lot of you are dealing with pockets in the back of the knees, but I definitely have arthritis going on in there. This is a huge investment at your local Walmart or whatever. It's a swimming pool noodle. Depending on the size of your body parts, there's different sizes, but I cut them the width of, you know, about half, and I move up a little bit, and I stick it under my knee. And it just kind of, by adding the pool noodle, it gets the vibration or the stimulation up into the back of the knees, or maybe the arches of the feet when you're sitting on the platform. I forgot to show that one. But there's certain body parts that don't directly come in contact with the machine, and this is just a way that I use to target those areas. You may want to roll onto the outer edges if you've got the upper body strength. If you don't have the upper body strength, an aerobic step or a couple of pillows just to get your bum up higher if you need to. Okay? Good investment on top of. Next thing we're going to do is the hamstrings. I do a lot of things in the vibration machine world with lipedema, but I also do a lot of things with special needs, and a lot of my little guys that are dealing with spasticity or tension in the hamstrings, it's hard for them to stand on the machine and touch their toes. And it's hard for some of you as well. Maybe it's stability, maybe it's range of motion. So by sitting on the machine and putting your legs on the machine, there's a couple of different benefits going on besides lymph. So you're getting stimulation directly to those areas. You know, maybe if you're dealing with some pain, it's a little more tolerable than standing on the machine sometimes. If you're dealing with constipation, urinary incontinence, just by sitting on this machine and you're getting to those lower lymph areas, the hips, the low back, just by sitting on the machine is probably my number 2 recommended position next to the squat. So once you've mastered the squat and you can actually get down here, for those who can't, it moves the hips very much like when you're walking, but in a passive way. And this is why it's easy to overdo this. You could sit here for 10 minutes and just watch TV, but there is still some activity going on. And if you're dealing with higher intensity machines, you know, or higher frequencies and speeds on your settings, probably again a minute to 2 for this area. If you're tall like me, I have to do my thighs and my bum kind of separately because I can't get them all on in one rep. If you're petite and you can get the glutes and the underside of the hams on, 1 to 2 minutes, a couple times a day is fine. If you deal with restless leg, constipation, you might want to do a session about a half hour before bed just to help that out a little bit. Those are a couple of basic positions. I will get into some more massage positions, how to do the inner thighs, the top of the thighs. You can do your lower tummy, your outer hips, your low back. Range of motion, again, is a gift. So you are only limited by that factor. I'm going to check in on questions again. Thank you for tolerating my informality today. Nicole has asked, how long is optimal and can you do too much? You know what, it's probably time to take a little chat because even though I'm not working out right now, if you saw the amount of furniture and machines I moved to get the right camera angle today, I was a little huffing beforehand. So how long and how often, you know, the best advice that I can give you for how long is it really directly depends on what you are doing on the machine. I touched on it a little bit earlier, but if you are doing passive things, you know, you're loosening up your hips, you know, you've been sitting at your desk for a little too long and you just want to stand on it for a minute or two. Feel good stuff, as I said, is very much like going for a walk. You know, so if I were to ask my therapists or my doctors out there, how many times a day can I go for a walk today? They'd look at me like I'm crazy. Well, I don't know. How many times do you feel like going for a walk today? So passive stuff, I encourage more frequent use, but short sessions to get that lymph going, get the stiffness out of those joints, and the mental clarity. There's all kinds of different reasons. The energy. If you are doing fitness, you are pushing yourself to fatigue. You are doing squats. You are doing push-ups. You should be fatiguing within about a minute, maybe 2 per position. So if you are like calling me up, like many of my clients do, and say, well, you know, I did a squat for 10 minutes today, I will say, no, you weren't trying, or you weren't pushing yourself within your range of motion. Standing is not squatting. So standing would be kind of passive use or a warm-up. Squatting would be more fitness. Now, pushing yourself to fatigue is again, probably within about a minute, maybe 2 max on something like that. I do try to coach keeping those durations short and get you into those good habits now, more frequent, high intensity, kind of like that HIIT style training, high intensity and short in duration. And not just because this group has lipedema, but there's a lot of co-conditions, heart conditions, diabetes, and a lot of things that I recommend for those types of medical conditions are high intensity, short duration. What I'm giving you license to do here is on the feel-good stuff, because you're dealing with sluggish lymph, those energy levels are dipping, we want to keep immunity high. How often you do the feel-good stuff, you could use it for a couple minutes every hour, theoretically, but it's not uncommon for some of my new users that just physically can't take the longer durations. There's more frequency in how often they're using it in short sessions. Some companies will tell you 30 minutes a day total. Some will tell you 10. So, you know, to me, the shorter the duration, I have a lot of things to do. I homeschool this year. I belong to way too many Facebook pages. So my physical working out is really probably no more than about 5 to 7 minutes if I'm really killing myself. But I use the machine frequently. You know, maybe my neck's bugging me and I've been on the computer too long, or, you know, my back's bugging me and I just want to, you know, do some sciatic stretches. So I do things throughout the course of the day, and I kind of let my body dictate that. You know, when I'm feeling stiff, or, you know, maybe I'm going to go shovel some snow or chase my dog and kids outside. So, you know, let that drive the feel-good stuff. But for the fitness, 1, 2 very good positions to start, you know, perfect them, 3 to 5 minutes, and do those. You know, legs I think we can do every day. We're not doing 20 minutes to a half hour of legs, but things like upper body and core, I tend to alternate on my days, but I still keep those durations short. If you're looking for more cardio, more sweat, start moving on the machine. Slow, purposeful movement. If you're going really, really fast while you're doing your squats, you're going to get more cardio, but you know, you may as well just be on the floor. The stimulation doesn't really build. That's the whole point of these machines. So if you are going to move, do it very slow, very purposeful with those squats. If you got good balance, come up to the toes. There's a bazillion variations if you Google squats online. You know, how to do a good squat. You know, I'm not the expert at fitness by any means, but after 12, 13 years with lots of different types of bodies, there are some fundamental basics, and that functional training is the biggest thing that I want you guys to follow. I want you to move and feel better. We're not training to be triathletes. And if you are, absolutely, you can use a machine, and you may want to start building up your durations. You know, programs like that would probably encompass more exercise groups. You're not just doing 2 or 3 things, or maybe you're building it into a circuit. You know, you're using a treadmill on the side, or maybe you're, you know, doing other things. You're taking a class. So using a vibration machine, you know, it can replace everything that you're doing, but the biggest thing that I love about them is the complement. How it enhances the benefits of other things that you're combining with them, other modalities in your clinic. So there's lots of ways that you can use a machine almost as a catalyst to better prepare the body for whatever you're going to do next to it, maybe some compression or your massage gun. And it's also super awesome effective at expediting recovery. There's a big gray area in, you know, using a machine post-surgery and with medical devices, part of the reason this page exists. But generally speaking, when you're, you know, if you go into your doctor for some surgery, or if you've hurt yourself, 9 times out of 10, they don't understand what a vibration machine is. And we think it's more complicated than it really is. It's just an activity. So when you are okay to get up and take yourself to the bathroom and make yourself a sandwich, and you're resuming your day-to-day activities, you can use your machine. If you're dealing with implants, if you're dealing with pins, I'm going to do a whole session on contraindications, but not today because we'll be here for 4 hours. If you are able to bear your own weight and get into your car and drive to the grocery store, there's no reason you can't use a vibration machine. If you have been advised that you are not to bear body weight, or you are limited in the duration in which you should be bearing body weight, same rules apply here. Maybe you're seated in a chair. Maybe you need to book a consultation with me and understand what your parameters are. Everybody gets broken and heals differently. So, with that piece, just like the fitness, there is no exact perfect program when you're recovering from having liposuction. Although I do have chicks on the machine nearly the day after. It really depends on your level of comfort, where the surgery was. There's reasons we want to expedite the development of scar tissue. We want to keep that lymph and circulation going. So there's going to be some other things we'll explore here within our community, because I know you're doing it anyways. So I would rather be your guide and responsibly teach you how to do these things than, you pretend you're not doing them, even though I know that you are. So this is the safest thing since sliced bread. She's not here with me today, but my little Deandra, my trainer in training, who is 9, has been on the machine since birth. She was, well, I shouldn't say since birth, since inception. I trained through my entire pregnancies and on some pretty big bad medical devices at the time. So it's understanding, like any activity, your body gets used to things. I talked earlier today about how long, give your body some time to assimilate to the platform. Well, if you're a marathon runner and you get pregnant or you have an injury, you don't stop running, but you may modify how you train. You may change how you run based on what's going on with your body. Same rules apply here. So if you're dealing with a medical condition and you've never used a machine before, there's guidance in place, and there's probably some contraindications that I would recommend you adhere to. But if you've been using a machine for 12, 14 years like I have, and some doctor that's never heard of lipedema, no offense to the doctors out there, but someone that's never heard of lipedema and never heard of vibration machines tells me, oh, you can't use your machine, we're going to have a different conversation, because I live in the world that there is science with these machines. There's science with everything, but by far my experience and my users like you out there, there's all this anecdotal stuff that's not supposed to be happening. Just because there's no study on something doesn't mean that it doesn't make you feel better. Just because it hasn't been validated by some university doesn't mean it doesn't manage your pain. So there's this whole world of people like us that are out there experimenting because I don't want to wait. If I had gotten that knee replacement and done everything, I probably would have had 3 by now. So I'm very much self-discovery, self-taught. I do have international certification with pretty much every machine out there, but the reality is what body you're working with, improving that quality of life, and in today's world, budget does come into it a fair degree too. So whether you're somebody using these at home, you're somebody in a clinic, I will get into some machine advice. Today I've covered absolutely oscillating for sure. For me, is not only the vast majority of what you guys are using out there, but it's what's accessible. There are other styles of platforms, but I think out of 9 out of 10 machines that you would see at a fair or at Costco and those types of places have oscillating, and know that's for a reason. The majority of the research comes from that style of movement. It's more naturally how we walk across the floor. So our body becomes accustomed to that because it more mimics how we naturally move. And I'm just here to fill in the gray blanks in all the variations between. I'm rambling. I'm going to check my time and see if there's any more questions here. Okay, you answered. I hope that helps, Nicola. I might have to put you on the list of people to have a Q&A with. You've got some good questions. Compressions. Joni, thank you for bringing this up. You'll find I very rarely script because then I sound too stuffy and salesy. So today I'm winging it. I've got 3 notes up there and I meant to get back to it, but I blew those away in the first 5 minutes. Compressions are an everyday part of your life. So, the problem with compressions is a lot of times they're more of a pain in the butt to get off and on for a 3-minute thing than just leaving them on. So I have a combination. Dr. Herbst, recommends a combination. If it's easier for you and you have them on and you just want to do a few minutes or you're doing your workout, but you got other things to do after, leave them on. I would love to see you use them, at some point without them on, maybe before, once you've taken them off at the end of the day. Some people don't like doing it on before they put them on in the morning because it fills them up a little bit or gets things moving. It's really one of those things you're going to have to experiment with, but there is no perfect recipe. Try them with, try them without. You know, it's more a lifestyle thing. If you feel like doing a shake and they're on, go nuts. If they're off, go that way and see what feels best for you. But absolutely not a problem using them on the machines, if that was your question. Very last one. I'm going to do a quick refresh. It is 5 o'clock, so I thank you for letting me ramble incessantly today. I certainly hope you got to know me a little bit better. I certainly haven't divulged all my trade secrets yet. But I do manage a lot of pages. There's a lot of amazing questions in other pages, and sometimes I try to share with other pages, and with all the groups, it's hard to universally post things. So this is an attempt for me to bring those of you that want to specifically be a part of this community using these machines. I am going to get into other things besides vibration machines, guns, compressions, other things that vibrate and manipulate the frequencies of our bodies in a healthy, healing way. And it's just another resource. I will have a newsletter that I'm going to be launching. Not everybody's on Facebook, and I didn't think about it when I first started the page, but you'll notice in my questions, if you're sending friends, please let them know that I do ask for an email. We all live in a time where who knows if Facebook will be here tomorrow, or you know, maybe I post the wrong picture and they take it the wrong way. So if anything ever should happen, and I've had this happen to other friends' pages in the past, if for some reason my page is gone, I want to have another means of communicating with you until I get YouTube and other things up and running. So know that I have revised my questions and asked for an email address. If I do not have a contact email address for you, and you've joined our page already and you would like to share that with me, please do so. Sometimes I have stuff I want to share that's, again, not everybody's on Facebook. I have quite a few of my seniors that it's a phone call and a piece of paper, or they don't want to talk to me. So I do want to come out with some more print-based resources as well. Not everybody's able to join us here on a regular basis. So any other questions? If you missed today's broadcast, it was very just awesome to see the response to me launching this page. I am so stoked about supporting you in one place, and I can't wait to hear what some of you are doing. There is no right or wrong. There's only trial and error in our community, and I think we're going to have a lot of wins, and I wish you the best on this high energy solstice day. If I don't check in with another video before Christmas, I promise to have a very short break, and I will have one early next week again. I'll advertise it on this page. Love to you all. I wish you a wonderful Christmas for you and your families. Take care of yourselves and use your machines regularly. I'll be checking in next week to see if you have been. Merry Christmas.